Guitar Heroes, Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage here, and today I'm going to show you 10 ways to practice that are going to literally get you out of that rut. Now listen, every guitar player goes into a rut, every musician, every person goes through a rut, and whatever their passion is. Because what happens is when you start getting to new levels and then you plateau, you start getting comfortable. Do this with workouts, with playing guitar, with all. So it's really important to keep things shaking, all right? Shake the trees. It's important to provide new things that are going to challenge us. And I've got 10 great ways to practice. These are ways that I practice all the time. Each one's individual, specific, and gleans a whole bunch of great stuff, okay? And here they are. I've got my little list here for you. And I'm going to go into each bit here. Sight reading is number one. Even if these are things, now you listen out to me. I'm going to give you the list, but I want you to listen to what I'm going to say about these because I don't care if you're not a sight reader. I'm not either, but I sight read. I do it a little bit, but I'm going to tell you why it's important, okay? So sight reading, improvisation, jamming with others, jam tracks or loops, writing or noodling, feeling to explore the guitar. This is without any sort of anything going on. Tabs, chord charts, DJ2, I'll tell you about that in a minute, repertoire, and playing to the radio. So let me go into each one of these in detail because some of these you're not going to know what I'm talking about. Some of them you know what I'm talking about, or at least you know by name, like sight reading, but you don't know why I'm suggesting it to you. So listen out. So let's go through these in no particular order. Sight reading is when you take musical notation, like the book I've written here, right? How to Read Music, basic musical notation. You literally can go on the internet. You don't even have to buy that book. It would be helpful if you did for you, but if, just learning how to read music, basically. I have it in my courses on YouTube, all sorts. But just learn the basics about reading the musical staff, because when you do this and you start connecting what's on the page to what's happening on the guitar, there's a magic that begins. It's great for the brain. It's great for understanding music theory more. And bottom line, there's nothing like the feeling of picking up a piece of sheet music, a piece of music you've never heard in your life, and literally being able to put it in front of you and to be able to play. Now, obviously, that takes some time by practicing sight reading, but an excellent way to become better. I know, but any of these things that I'm going to suggest you, to some degree, you might dread them, but that's why you're not moving forward, because you got to push through these parts. Okay, now that specific one may not be your bag. Let's start with one that you would like, okay? So one of these is going to work for you, but I suggest all of them. Okay, improvisation, lead and rhythm playing. So this would be, basically improvisation in any way where you're putting on usually some sort of jam track or playing with others, but we're going to get into that specifically, why that's so important. Improvisation is the idea of just like, I had a basic plan for what this video is about with my 10 things, but I didn't plan every word out. When you wake up in the morning, you don't plan on everything you're going to say to everybody because you don't know who's going to ask you what, right? But you have the wherewithal to be able to respond. That's improvisation. And we do this every day when we talk. But getting that way with guitar takes a little bit more practice. And learning how to improvise is very important. And you learn how to improvise by you learn what notes to play by learning what notes not to play. So a lot of folks, when they're just starting off, improvising, they'll say, gosh, it just doesn't sound good. Of course it doesn't. No one expected it to. It didn't with Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen or anybody else. So why would it with you? It's just not going to sound good at first. We have to learn how that scale works according to a chord progression, and then all of a sudden the magic starts happening, okay? So improvisation is really important, and that leads me to the next two things, jamming with others and jam tracks. Now, both two very different things. So let's talk about jam tracks for a minute, or a looper pedal, because that's kind of the next obvious step up and before jamming with others. So as you know, I am a big fan of looper pedals. I love that because I can put a chord progression into it and it'll sit there and loop that chord progression seamlessly until the cows come home. And I can work on licks, I can work on solos, I can write solos, I can slow it down, everything, in order to come up with the part that I need to come up with. Okay, so this is part has to do with improvisation, but learning how to use a looper pedal and learning how to use jam tracks by saying, okay, this is in the Unstoppable Guitar System. Eric has, I've got a whole section with blues track or jam tracks, over 500 of them, and you say, oh, I want something reggae in the key of A, and then you want to improvise over the top of that. So jam tracks and loops are fantastic for challenging you. It's bringing you to new places because you're having to come up with stuff on the spot. Now, with that being said, jamming with others, absolutely important in bringing you up to a professional level, okay? I've never known a musician who just plays by themselves and who are great. You've got to play with other musicians. That's where the magic happens. For the same reason as talking to yourself is fine, but when you're talking with others and one person can, sharpen you, iron sharpens iron. You ever heard that expression? When one person's talking, they say, yeah, but have you ever considered this? And you say, yeah, okay, now we're going up a level. In the same way, when you're jamming with others, you're watching what their hands are doing. Maybe it's not even another guitar player, maybe it's a bass player or a drummer, but they're doing a particular something that entices you to do a particular something on the instrument. Jamming with others allows you to get into the minds and the hearts of other musicians. The more you do that, the more you glean, the more information you're getting. Okay, so jamming with others, even if you're shy, everybody's shy in the beginning, try to get together with somebody who's your level or better, preferably better because you're going to get more information from them. It's always good to be working with someone who has less ability than you as well, because you can feed back into the community, and I find that to be very helpful. And in fact, when I started teaching decades ago, I found that I learned stuff so much better once I was teaching it, so we can even throw teaching into that mix there. So jamming with others, absolutely important, okay? Writing or noodling and feeling free to explore the guitar. So what I mean by this is sometimes, and you probably do this already, but it's the idea of just literally sitting with your guitar and just noodling, seeing what comes out. Now, why is this good? This is good because it really challenges your brain, basically as a writing experiment, to come up with something out of thin air. Now, usually with art students and what have you, when you go to art school or music school or what have you, and you're asked to compose something or create a piece of art, there are usually specific parameters. So, first day of class, in art school, they don't say, hey, paint your best picture and bring it back tomorrow. No, they say, mixed media, the colors are black and red. It needs to be something about, the piece needs to be about war. Or whatever. Like, there's parameters, and then you can go home and you go, okay, now I know what they're talking about. Just like when you ask your professors, what are you expecting from us? It's like you want that information, and that's really important when it comes to creating art. And when we're writing on the guitar, we're coming up with parts. It's helpful to be able to have some sort of schematic, like, hey, I want to write something bluesy, and you start playing your blues riffs and start kind of formulating a plan. But this writing on the instrument where you're just like coming up with licks, coming up with chord progressions is an absolutely essential part of becoming a great guitar player, because if not, then you're just mimicking everybody, okay? There's nothing wrong with mimicking, and that's part of what's coming up here, what we're going to be talking about. Tablature. If you don't know how to read tablature, get in the free course that I'm giving you that's in the description of this video, YourGuitarSage.com/30. It's a course that's going to show you a myriad of things. One of those things is going to be tablature. And understanding tablature is a great way to immediately get information in a way that you may not have before. It's an absolutely easy way to understand how to play the guitar. Basically, there's 6 lines. The top line is the top string, the bottom line is the lowest pitch string, and the highest line is the highest pitch string. And then you have numbers that are written on that, and that will tell you where your finger should be, what frets. So just like certain games that are out and what have you, it's a way to see, okay, hey, I'm playing this, and especially if you know the tune, tablature is great because you know exactly where to put your fingers. It's not like musical notation in that it denotes rhythms and that sort of thing. So you probably would not want to use tablature if you are unfamiliar with a song. But if you're familiar with a song, tablature is a great way to get that information and get it very quickly. One of my favorite sites is Ultimate Guitar, and you can find them by going to Ultimate, guitar.com. And I have a plethora of videos on there as well. So check that out. But tablatures, absolutely important. Let's talk about, while we're talking about tablatures, chord charts, either lyrical or professional fake book style charts. We'll talk about both of them. So you've seen this before on Ultimate Guitar. They have these what we call chord lyric charts, and basically you're looking at the lyrics, and then you'll see the chord above the word where that chord should be played. Those are fine, especially for beginners, because you can immediately jump in and go, okay, well the chord changes there. But what it leaves out is it leaves out a lot of information, just like tablature leaves out information that musical notation puts in. But musical notation is it's a bigger learning curve than learning tablature. Tablature you can learn like in 2 minutes. Musical notation takes longer. But in the same way, you have chord lyric charts and you have what we call fake book charts, or just like professional charts. The lyric chord charts don't tell you where to change the chord other than the lyric. But we're not going on lyrics. We want to go on time, because that's music. What happens if your lyricist or your singer says the word late? If that particular word comes in late, it doesn't mean you hit the chord late. See what I'm saying? So there's information missing there. So it's very important that once you graduate from that as soon as possible, and to go into more fake book style charts. And what we mean by that is a fake book. I won't go into all the detail, but back in the day, there were books called fake books, and basically it was where someone jotted down the chords and the melody and that sort of thing, and they were illegal because there was no copyright given to the originator of the music and that sort of thing. Well, we have real books now, which is basically the same thing, except if the copyright has been paid for, and it will show you when to change the chords by your timing and all that. So you know exactly when to change chords and all the intricacies and what have you. So working with chord charts is great. And with any of these things I'm telling you about, the harder it is for you. Now listen to this. This is the gravy. The harder it is for you, the more you should lean into it and do it, because that's an area of weakness that you have, and you're going to gain a lot more knowledge than the guy who knows it pretty well and then is just practicing it. If you don't know it and you're going into it flying blind, that's the greatest way, because you're really going to learn a whole bunch right away. Okay, so chord charts, fake book style preferably. DJ2, you've probably seen me make a video or two on this program. It's they definitely have it for iOS. They probably have it for Android as well, and I believe they have it for the computer. But it's a great program. DJs use this, but I use it also. And basically what it allows you to do is it allows you to take your songs, like MP3s and what have you, and allows you to slow the songs down, change the pitch. You can even slow the song down without changing the pitch. So you can do all sorts of things with this program. It's really easy to work, and it works in tandem with Spotify. So you don't even have to download the tunes. You can literally have this program open. You can pull up a tune, and it will slow it down in real time. It'll speed it up in real time, change the key, whatever you want it to do. So if you're playing a song that's dropped down a half step, like a lot of Van Halen stuff, you can put up a half step and slow it down. Super cool stuff. DJ2, and if you're looking for that on the web, it's DJAY numeral 2, no spaces, okay? So DJ2, check that out, or some sort of software that you can work with like that is great. Okay, repertoire. Let's talk about it. Repertoire is what you know, okay? The songs that you've learned already. Now, why is this important? It's important because when you're getting on stage, no one wants to hear you play a scale or an exercise. They want to hear music. Not only do they want to hear music, they want to hear good music, preferably classics, and the stuff that drew you to the guitar in the beginning. If you don't keep up with those bits, typically you will forget them. If you're anything like me, where you've learned thousands of songs, if you don't practice them, you're going to forget them for sure, because you can only keep so much in that noodle, right? So you got to practice your repertoire. Important, because if someone says, hey, can you play any Elvis? And you're like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I know these 5 songs. Boom, and you got it. So practice your repertoire is great, and it also just kind of keeps you in the zone of playing instead of going to the woodshed like some of these other ones where it's slow at first. When you're playing your repertoire, you're moving, you're playing, you're not having to rethink everything again. You're just kind of regurgitating what you've done already. Okay, so repertoire is really important. And the last one, and I got this from my buddy Martin King growing up, great guitar player back in the day. And I imagine he's still a great guitar player. We're not in touch anymore, but great guitar player. And he would just fly across the neck, and he was really tasty, melodic playing. And I would always say, you know, how do you practice? Because I wanted to kind of get into his brain. How do you practice to do what you're doing? And he'd say, man, I just put on the radio and I play. And for me, in the beginning, I was like, when I didn't know much about key or finding keys and all that stuff, I was like, how would you do that? How would you go about doing that? Well, as I teach in my courses and as I teach here on YouTube, you could probably type in YourGuitarSage ear to find these videos, but I teach how to play by ear, and it's important to understand about key and those sorts of things. Once you understand how to find the key to a song, which I have videos for that as well, type in YourGuitarSage key, and I believe I have videos for that here on YouTube, definitely in the Unstoppable Guitar System. Once you know this, then just putting on the radio or a radio, you know, Spotify playlist or something like that will allow you to, on the spot, be presented with a problem, a musical problem. And so you're going to have to come up with, okay, well, what key are we in? Okay, cool, now I know what key are we in. Is it major or minor? All right, what's the style? Is it bluesy? Okay, well, I probably won't use a diatonic scale. Maybe I'll use the blues scale. So all of a sudden, again, just like that art class, it gives you some parameters that you have to stick to, but with the knowledge, you can literally just start playing over a song immediately, okay? If you know the key. And I know this because I've seen this happen a million times. I've done it myself. Nashville players, studio players, you will see them in the studio just be able to look at a chart for the first time, be able to play it, oftentimes not even looking at the chart, just playing from what they just heard. Obviously, that takes a little time to get to that level, but with all the other stuff that I mentioned to you, that will allow you to get to that level. So playing to the radio is kind of like a upper echelon type of thing, but when you do it, you're going to realize how liberating it is because you've got a new song and now all of a sudden you're playing to it. Pretty cool stuff. All right, my friends, hopefully one of those, if not all of those, are going to pull you out of your rut. Whenever you have a problem, go back to these because they are absolutely essential to growing you as a musician. All right, my friends, I have a free course for you below. It's YourGuitarSage.com/30, the top 30 lessons I teach all my students in Nashville. It is an amazing course. I'm not just saying that. I've had thousands of people go through this course. It's definitely for beginners, but I've had folks that have been playing longer than I have get into this course and say, Eric, I'm getting so much from this. I can't believe I never learned this. So it's a huge builder for your hand, of building that foundation, building that solid foundation so that you can go on and do whatever you want on the guitar. And if you need more videos, I got them for you, friends. I'm here for you. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. I do all sorts of free stuff there. Live broadcasts, giving away thousands of dollars worth of fun stuff, guitars and amps and all that good stuff. Courses. So please let me know how I can help. Would love to help you. And as always, my friends, be kind to all beings. Don't trust the man. Practice your guitar. I'll see you in the next video.